Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're going to be playing 3 by 3 in the fog. This is I'm not sure I could call it a follow-up, but essentially it's Sir Moose playing once again with not normal Sudoku rules. So if you're not familiar with the rule set I'm going to flick over onto in a second, just take a moment and just read them a bit more carefully. Now, I absolutely loved the previous one, and again, I'm not sure it's a series because this one doesn't actually involve entropy, and we're back to fog once again. So, I kind of gave the game away. I've talked about all the rules, but let's just get stuck into it and take a look at today's 2-star difficulty rated puzzle from Sir Moose with 3 by 3 in the fog. So, first rule, as I said, normal Sudoku rules do not apply. I am deliberately going to just type in a digit. Yep, that's visible and it disappears. Excellent. So, place the digits 1 to 9 in the grid so they do not repeat in any row or column. So, the digits 1 to 9 occur once each in every row and every column. However, digits can and will repeat in each 3 by 3 box. So, each box will use exactly 3 of the digits from 1 to 9. So, for example, if this cell is 1, I have to fit in 1 2 more times in this particular box, but I can't have it repeat in the same row or column. So, all of these being 1 would be absolutely valid. I'm actually going to just pencil mark it. And that would be the not normal Sudoku rules. Second rule we have is cells that are orthogonally adjacent cannot contain consecutive digits. So if these cells are 1, essentially none of the orthogonally connected cells, so that's for that one, or these ones, or these ones could be a 2, because that would be consecutive to the 1. Then we've got arrow sums, so digits along an arrow sum to the number in the arrow's circle. So these 4 cells on this arrow will come up to a value when you add them all up, and that value has to be written inside that circle. Last but not least, we've got some of the grid is covered by fog, and placing correct digits will clear the surrounding fog, and no guesses are required. You can see I was very deliberate about placing ones here rather than actually writing them as full digits. If that one was actually correct, all of these surrounding fog cells, including itself, will be revealed and hopefully may give us some more information to proceed with the solve. So, as always, to play along, link in the description down below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So unlike last time when it had the entropy row, there's no real guarantee that we have like a low, middle and high in every box. So we're kind of a bit on our own there. But I think what's worthwhile starting with is just a quick reminder that in this not normal Sudoku rules, you essentially have 2 ways of completing a particular box. The easiest way to think about this is if you call this cell blue, whatever blue is, to have it not repeat 2 more times, but not in the same row or column, you're going to find that you're either going to have it diagonally this way or diagonally that way. That's your first choice. Once you've done that, everything else is fixed. So if this cell is green, well, that can't be green, that can't be green, but I need one in this kind of column, so that has to be green, that can't be green anymore, that's green. And then lastly, you've got the third digit, let's call that red. So essentially one of the squares or a number of the squares are going to look like that. And then the other one would be sort of the flip choice of this that we discussed earlier, which is that it's going diagonally that way. And these are the other remaining choices that you have. So with the given arrow sums that we have, I mean, box 4 seems to be very much the one with the most number of clues. So we essentially have to figure out which one of these it is. Now these cells are 1 or 2. Can't be any higher. Well, that's because I'm making an assumption that it's actually this diagonal. Of course, it could be higher. If it's going diagonally this way, and I'm not actually repeating these digits, so ignore that pencil mark entirely. So let's have a think about this. I'm going to actually reference these two. Let's say this is one option. So if it's going blue that way, we're essentially saying that orange and, I don't know, green are in here. And now what we're saying is purple is the sum of orange and green, which tells me that this circle is now essentially 3 greens because of the purple and 2 oranges. So even if I go for the absolute minimum of 1s and 3s, which I emphasize is the absolute minimum because, again, of the lack of consecutive digits. So in any one of these boxes, you obviously always have green consecutive to blue and red, red consecutive to blue and green. So I can never have 2 consecutive digits in any of these kind of 3x3 boxes. So 1 and 2 doesn't work, 1 and 3 does. Let's say I make this green, 4 and 3. That's essentially what this adds up to. That is already at 7. That is, and I can't even have a 4. Yeah, that just blanket doesn't work. But I mean, humor me because of this circle. That's 9 as a sum, but obviously the 4 is not equal to, well, I can't place the 1 and 3 in here because they'll be consecutive. So long story short, and that has been a long story for sure, is that these cells are indeed the same. I'm going to go with green. I'm going to remove these references in a second. So, and these are oranges. Now, green has to be 1 or 2. 3 would get it to 9 plus whatever this digit is. So that's just not going to work. So this is 1 or 2 now. That initial assessment was correct. Plus orange, which actually happens to be the larger of the 3 digits. So I feel like if I go for 2 here, I think I'm going to be in trouble because purple at a minimum is 4. And now this is a minimum of 8. And you can see how this is just not going to work. That's 6 plus 8 to get to a two-sum digit. So that is definitely 1 now. These still cannot be any smaller than 3. Plus a 6. 6 and a 3, that is a 9. That is all forced. Lovely. Now we also know a bunch of things. The fact that there is a 9 in here in this row means there are no 9s in this entire box. The 9 is actually all the way up here. So we know of the available digits that 9 has to be up there. We also know, because of what I said earlier, that I can't have consecutive digits in the same box, that because 9 is up there, 8 has to be down here. 8 is here, 7 and 9 can't be down there, 7 has to be up here. The 6 kind of breaks the magic a bit. And then we have 2, 4, and 5 as the remaining digits, is it? The 2 would have to be down here because the 4 and 5 can't be in the same box. So this is essentially, this 4 and 5 have to be split. One of them is up here, one of them is down there, joining the 2, 8 and the 7, 9. Okay, so these are like essentially my options. No, 4, 5, 7, 9, definite 7, 9. 2, 8 and 4, 5, definite 2 and 8. Now we have this arrow and these cells, which I know cannot be 1, cannot be 2 or 8 for that matter. So this is definitely the 4, 5. This is also the 4, 5. It doesn't have to be the same digit, mind you. At least I don't think it has to be. We haven't kind of thought about that. But this is definitely not 2 or 8. The 2 now can't be next to the 3. So it has to be in here. This has to be the 8. Can lose these. This is now 2, 4, 5 with a definite 2, 4, 5, 8 with a definite 8, and then 2, 8. Simple. Right. This is not 7, not 5. This is 4 or 9. I can tell it can't be 5 or 7 because obviously it's consecutive to 6. So it can't be 9 because I'm not going to get to a single digit sum. There's nothing in the rules about this being kind of 2-digit circle sums. There's a long and arrow sum to the number in the arrow circle. There's no explanation about these being ovals or pills, so I think that's a valid way of proceeding. I don't know, I can already kind of foresee the comments are going to come critiquing that path. I'm just going to see if there's any other way of doing this other than making the assumption, again, just based on the rules, that I always have a single circle for the arrow sums. So this being 4 or 9 is forced. This being 5, 7, 9, and this being any of 4, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, this is not going to work. This is 7. So essentially, I know that 4 is on this side, which means it's 5 on this side. No 4s. And now I have a 9 here, a 4 there. And therefore, this is my diagonal. This is my 7s, and this is my 4. Lovely. Okay, where do I go from here? I mean, temptation is obviously box 2, given it's got this arrow leading to this circle, which is not 1, 3, or 6. But we seem to have like a huge number of options available, which is not brilliant. So we know that the 8, actually we know that 2, 5, and 8, and 9, no, we know 2, 5, and 8 are not here. Because obviously they're already placed. So I have to place 2, 5, and 8 somewhere else, like up in these two cells. Is that how I'm going to do this? No, that can't be right. No, this is... I think we're going to have to go back to kind of double, triple checking the different diagonals, knowing that these digits are not available may be helpful. I mean, if 8 is up here, it would have to be in front of the 4. And then it's none of these, so essentially it'll be, well, I mean, it would have to be these. If 8 is up there, because we know it's not down here next to this 9, and it's not next to the 9, not next to the 7. It absolutely could be in box 5. I'm just trying, sort of seeing if we can rule it out. Now, with the 8 being up here, I know that the 7 obviously isn't here. Well, we knew that anyway. And then we'd have, I mean, that clearly doesn't become the diagonal. With this 8, I couldn't have made it 8 as such because it couldn't have come to a single digit sum, which means that the diagonal has to be here. It would have to be from 1, 2, or 3 to get to 3, 6, or 9 in this case, so it would have to be 3. And then we have a digit in here that is not 4 or 6, but it could be or 2, so it's 1 or 5. Sadly, this is all working. Not brilliant. Well, actually, the 9 is definitely here. He's Yes. You see, the entire thing. Right, so, okay. So, remember how I said earlier, I don't know if this is the same digit or not. Hold that thought. The 9 and the 9 being here eliminates 9 from all of these, and essentially, where is my third 9? It has to be in this box. It doesn't have to be in the arrow sum, but it has to be in this box. Now, technically, that's done on a digit by digit basis. So the 5 being here, I could absolutely have the 5 in the diagonals, but alternatively, I could have them in here. Kind of, is that right? Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it's not destined that 258 means 258 means 258. I mean, for one thing, that is definitely broken because we've shown that I couldn't get 2, 5, or 8 in here. Essentially, I would need to get to a 9, and 222 won't work. And a combination of adding up all of them, 2, 5, and 8, is nowhere near 9. So it is definitely the case that the 2, 5, 8 are not all in here. So yes, that tells me nothing about this 4, 5. That was just like not remotely helpful, was it? Actually, that's an interesting thing. So essentially, I'm saying that when the diagonals are flipped, yes, essentially just that, you have to add up all 3 digits. And all 3 digits are, at a minimum, 1, 3, and 5. That's just a fact. Because I can't have them consecutive. That would be the 1. Because 3 and 5 are not allowed next to the 4. But yeah, I get away with it. This is always 9. Incredibly, this is always 9. With either a 333 or a 135. This is always 3. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. There is always a 3 in this box, is what I meant to say. Sorry. Turns out it is actually on the diagonal based on the fact that I reveal things. I mean, this cell is, but sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So 3 being up here tells me 2 isn't, and 2 isn't here. So 2 is definitely there. This is a very tricky puzzle suddenly. I don't know if I'm complicating it. Maybe. Let's see if we can eliminate the 135 option. So the 1 would have to be here. Then 3 and 5 basically can go anywhere. I'm not sure I can eliminate it. If it is 135, all right, let's explore that option. 135 is here. 2 is definitely there. 8 is not here and apparently not there anymore, so it's definitely in here. 6 is not here. 6 can't be next to the 5, so 6 is down there. Where is 7 going to go? 7 can't be next to the 8, can't be next to the 6, and apparently it's full. I mean, it can't be next to the 7 in the same row and column. So 135 definitely doesn't work. This is definitely 3s. Okay. 2 is still here. know 8 is not there. Really, it doesn't feel like enough. So what are my options for this box? I mean, like, it feels like I'm going to have to do this exhaustively. So 2 is not available. 1 is, 2 is not, 3 is in, 4 is not, 5 is available, 6 is available, 7, 8, and 9. So essentially, I need 2 of the digits 1, 5, 6, and 8. Down here, where I have a 2 already, but not 1 or 3, the remaining digits are 1 of 4, 5, definitely. And because obviously they're consecutive, it's only 1 of. And then 1 of 7 and 8. Because 6 is not available. And 9 is not available. So that's essentially my setup. 2 with a 4, 5, and a 7, 8. There's a definite 2. It's not next to the 1. It's not next to the 3. It's in here. The 4, 5 tells me the 7, 8. Interesting. This being a 2, again, I've got 2 options. It can't be next to the 3, so that's the 2, that's the 2. Which tells me the 4, 5 is this way, which tells me that is not a 4, because it's next to, it's adjacent to the 3. So it is 5. And that is still 7, 8. That is still not resolved. Excellent. So this is not a 5. So I still need 2 of the digits from 1, 6, and 8. Now 6 and 8 can't be here. Can't have a 6-8 pair because of the 7. So this is the 6-8 with a definite 1. And being the 3 is diagonally this way, that 1 places 1s in here, and these are 6-8 pairs. And I don't actually have a resolution for it yet. I'm okay with that. This is fantastic progress. I'm happy with that. So the 4 now is definitely down here. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got a 4. And then essentially I have 1 of 6, 7, and 8. But I can't have an 8 next to the 9 or this cell. So it'd have to be a 6 or 7. So these are my remaining options. A definite 4 with a 6 or 7. And interesting. And then the 9, again, unlikely to be kind of that way. But let's see if we can find a better. The 8, of course, can't be next to the 9, so this was forced. This is 8. This is 6. This is therefore 7. And then all of these are essentially 4, 7, 9, some order. These are not 9s. That's a 4, 7 pair. The 7 can't be next to the 8, so that's 4, that's 7. These are not 4s. These are not 7s. And then we know what these are. This is 1, 3, and 6 in some order. And we also know what these are. This is 4, 7. 4, 7, 9. And 4, 7, 9. We also know what these are now. 1, 3, 6. So this is 2, 5, 8 in here. Excellent. 2 is none of these. 1 and 3. That's the 2. This is not a, hang on, it can be a 2. These are not 2s. So essentially I have 1, 2, plus either a 2 or a 5, adding up to whatever this digit is. To be fair, I mean, obviously it can turn, but given 1, 2, 2 is already at 5, and if I terminate in this box, which I do because I can see these, so the circle is definitely in here, I can't get to, so 1, 2, and 2 gets me to a 5, but I don't have an odd digit that will get me to an 8. So what am I trying to say? The other option, of course, is 1, 2, that's 3, plus the 5 to get me to an 8, but this cell is never an 8. Long way of what I'm trying to say. This is also not an 8. That's a 5. That's an 8. That's not an 8. These are not 5s. These are not 9s. This is not a 7 next to the 8, so that's the 4, that's the 7. Not 4s, not 7. Not 6, of course, next to the 7. 1, 3, 6 with a definite 6. I mean, that really does look like it's forced. That this has to be a 2 leading up to a 5. Can't see any other way of resolving it. And even if I can extend it, we've already established that 1, 2, and then like, well, this would have to be 5. I would be adding that. So essentially I'll be at 5 already, plus a 5 to get to apparently 8. That's not going to happen. That's 2. That's 5. That tells me the diagonal is this way, 8. 5, 8. The 8 in here gives me the 4. The 7 gives me this diagonal. Gives me these 9s. Gives me this 4, which can't be next to a 3. It's got to be this arrow next. I mean, which, I'll be honest, very much tells me that this is a 4. I just don't see how it could be 9, and then anything else would work. So it seems like the way to solve this puzzle requires you to make an assumption that they're always single-digit arrow sums. I mean, to be fair, it's not really much of an assumption. I mean, the rules are fairly clear. The 7 gives me the 2, the 8, the 4. Hang on, what have I done here? There was never a 4 in there. I need to massively rewind. How did I end up with a 4 in here? Because these were never 4s. These were 5s. Helps to have the right pencil marks, not a 3. Can't be a 6, it would require a 2-digit sum, so not a 6 is a 6. So 4 plus 1, 3 plus 1, 3 apparently is equal to whatever this digit is. It looks to me like a double 1 adding up to a 6. Can't see any other way of resolving this, but let me just double check. Right, let's just speed this along. 1, 6, 1, 6, 3, 3, 3. Fantastic puzzle once again, Sermus. Genuinely curious if there was something else I was missing that didn't require. Again, I would emphasize it's not really an assumption when the rules are stating that you're adding up to a circle, not a pill or oval or something, and it doesn't explain the fact that 2 cell sums would basically be kind of left to right or top to bottom. So I'll accept it. Hope you guys enjoyed the puzzle and the video, and looking forward to your comments. Bye-bye for now.